Welcome to the Outdoor Biz Podcast, your home for inspiring conversations with outdoor insiders. Each week, author, speaker, adventurer, and outdoor industry veteran Rick Saez talks in depth with iconic brand founders, sales and marketing pros, product designers, and industry rising stars. Listen in when Rick's guests offer actionable advice to land your ideal industry gig and grow your outdoor career. Catch us again when the conversation shifts to the hottest outdoor products, destinations, and the latest industry insights. And now, here's Rick.
I'm excited to have videographer, photographer, and fellow podcaster Cole Heilborn on the podcast today. Cole hosts the Backcountry Marketing Podcast. You can hear me on episode 79, and he loves creating films. He says the challenge of making something creative is a challenge he never tires of. He loves it so much that he started a video production agency based in the Pacific Northwest. Portside Productions partners with brands and agencies to create commercial videos and documentary films that engage, inspire, and drive people to action. You can find them at portsidepro.com. Welcome to the show, Cole.
Hey, Rick. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Doing awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Are you guys getting the big rain up there, or is that over?
Fortunately, I really hope that it's done. Fortunately, where I live, I'm here in Bellingham. Our house is fine. We've got a basement that leaks a little bit with heavy rain, but I feel really bad for just our neighbors 20 minutes north. There has been some terrible flooding up there in the last couple of weeks. I think I read that we got 5.5, maybe 6 inches of rain in 2 or 3 days, which is what we usually get in about a month's worth of time. So just to say, it has been pretty wet up here.
Yeah, I was talking to George Farkas from Joey Energy. Do you know George?
I do not know.
I got to connect you with him. He lives up there. He was telling me about all the rain you guys have been getting up there in Bellingham. It's just pretty nuts. So I'm glad
it's gnarly. I've lived here almost my whole life. I've never seen anything like this. Yeah, it was something.
Yeah, weather's changing around the world. So let's start off with Portside Productions. You guys do some very beautiful work. Tell us about the inspiration behind that and how'd you get started in that? Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, so we're a film production company. We do commercial work in the outdoor adjacent industries. I think what it boils down to, frankly, is just we really love good stories. We love interesting people with good stories, and any way we can package those stories and help our clients tell those stories is what we're all about. So that's the inspiration behind our work. The production company started. I had no intention of starting a production company. That kind of happened by accident. I've always loved being creative. I've always loved creating stuff, whether playing with Legos as a kid or making go-karts, or I had built a tree house. All that stuff was kind of my.
Did you have a camera? Did you shoot photos and stuff? Video?
In high school, a friend of mine got a camera, and that's when I really started to get the video bug. We'd take his camera up. This is when we were first getting into mountain biking. We'd take it up to our local hill, and we'd shoot videos of us mountain biking. And that's really where I got hooked, was on the trails, filming myself and my buddies. So yeah, just grew from there. I've always loved having a camera and being outside.
That's always fun. Yeah, my buddies and I did the same thing. I was about in the 70s. We ran around our skateboards, and my family we had the film camera back in the day, the movie camera, and we'd shoot film. And so I snagged it and shot all my buddies shooting around. And I still have the roll of film. I've seen it on a projector before years ago, but I need to have it digitized. It'd be some fun stuff.
Yeah, no kidding. You got to upload that to YouTube for all of your fans to see.
Yeah, I'll do that. That's right. I'll do that. Yeah. I think I found somebody to digitize photos, but I don't know if they do film, but I'm sure there's a bunch of people that do that nowadays. So.
Yeah, and I think Costco might even do that also.
Oh, that's good to know. I'll check that out. Yeah. So who was your first client for Portside?
Yeah, like I said, I started the production company by accident. So I graduated college. I studied film and video at a school here in Washington. Moved back to Bellingham, was bumming around doing odd jobs to pay rent. And that summer, at the time, I didn't know that commercial video was a thing. I thought if you were going to do film, like you had to go to Hollywood. A family friend reached out to me, and she was a marketing coordinator at a local school. And so my first job was working with this school to create some overview videos of this school to live on the website. So that was my first experience with commercial video. When I submitted my invoice and got paid, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I was able to pay rent for the month with this job. And that's really what kind of opened my eyes to commercial video as something I could do for a job. So that summer I filed for a sole prop and away I went.
Wow. Good for you. How many years ago was that?
Yeah. So that was this six and a half years ago.
Oh, good for you. Yeah. So you've been ripping right along then.
Yeah. So the first year and a half, I was working part-time in the production business, working part-time elsewhere. I used to work in a warehouse, and I would package up and ship out cat furniture. And so I did that from 5 a.m. to, I don't know, whenever I was done, 9 or 10 or 11. And then the rest of the day I would spend trying to hustle with the production business. And I reached a spot a year and a half in or so where I could quit the warehouse job and go full time for the production business.
Awesome. Good for you. Congratulations. That's very exciting.
It was a good day. Yep.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. And do you have any shoots or any customers on your bucket list, or a shoot that you want to do with a specific customer?
Yeah, for sure. I think like a lot of filmmakers or just creatives, I've got my own lists of companies or just pieces of work out there that I think are phenomenal. We've all got our inspiration boards, I feel like. And the two that are definitely on my list that I would love to be able to work with in the future are Patagonia and Yeti. I mentioned storytelling is such an interest and a passion for the work that we do. And those two brands do a phenomenal job with some incredible storytelling. I'm sure everyone here is familiar with their work. And if at one point in my career, I could, put a feather in my cap and have the name Patagonia or Yeti on it, that would be pretty cool one day.
Yeah. Those are folks to aspire to. I'm sure you'll get jobs with one or both of them. You do pretty good work, very good work actually. So keep it up and they'll come calling.
Yep, that's the plan.
Yeah, good. And how did the podcast get started?
Yeah, very similar to the production business, by accident. I didn't know anything about the world of marketing when I started the production business. And I realized pretty quickly on if I was going to make it with the production business, I needed to know a little bit about the world of marketing. So I reached out to folks in my local network, just asking to buy them a cup of coffee and ask them questions about their job. And through those conversations, I started to learn like how the industry works, even simple things like what are all the positions and what do the positions do? And so through that, I really started to be interested in the industry of marketing and really enjoyed the curiosity and being able to ask questions and ask tougher questions and challenge some of the status quo of practices or whatever. So I did that for a few years. And it wasn't until about a year and a half ago that a friend of mine just suggested I start taking some of these conversations that I was having with folks and record them and turn it into a show. Yeah, that's where it came from. The first 10 episodes were, I was actually operating under a different name for the podcast. It was originally called Brand Story Podcast. My intention at the time was to interview folks in branding positions and just understand and discuss how brands became what they've become, and talk about the power and symbols behind brands. I think I got into those first few episodes, and I don't even know if we talked about branding at all with any of the guests that I had.
Yeah.
And I realized pretty quickly on, I was like, I'm gonna rebrand. I know that we want to talk about marketing. I know that we want it to be in the outdoors. And so that's where we came up with the name Backcountry Marketing.
Good on you. So you got a master's class in marketing and you got a podcast out of it.
That's what it feels like.
I can imagine.
Really is.
Yeah, I bet.
It's such a great opportunity to meet with folks and chat with folks and just continue to learn and build those relationships. Yeah, it's been an all around a good experience.
Yeah, good for you. What part of it do you like the most? Podcast.
I think it's safe to say the conversation component is really the most enjoyable component. I'm sure you feel similar.
Yep.
Just having a kind of an excuse, really. I think in today's world, we're moving so fast and it's so hard to make the time just to sit down with someone and get to know them and learn what makes them tick and talk about challenges that they have and relate over common interests. And so having the podcast has really just been a good excuse for me to be able to get out and connect with folks and meet with folks. So that's definitely been the most value that I've received from the show, is just getting to know people and what their lives look like.
Yeah, I agree. It's the same thing. And you never know when you get into a conversation like this where it's going to go or what you're going to learn. But we all, I think, like you probably create a list of questions and things you want to talk about. But then once you start doing that, it goes down different paths and you learn things you had no idea that someone did or something.
Totally.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you had me on episode 79. Thank you very much for that. We had a fun time geeking out on podcasting, and I think Seth Godin and all kinds of good stuff. That was pretty cool.
A number of other things. Yeah, it was a good conversation.
We rambled all over the place, which is great. I think that's part of the beauty of it. Yeah. And you're coming up on episode 100. That's pretty awesome. Do you have a favorite episode of those out of those 100, or maybe 2 or 3?
I definitely have 2 or 3. I don't know that I could point to one as a favorite. I did an episode with John Salzinger last year. He's the CEO the founder of Empowered. They make the Lucy light, and it was just such an eye-opening conversation. I think for folks who know John, he's such a smart, respected individual in the industry. In fact, I think he actually was just Worth's magazine top 100.
Yeah, I saw that. He was.
Yeah. So he and his team are doing some pretty phenomenal work. In the episode that he was on with me, we talked around a few different topics, but it all centered around the idea of the advertiser's responsibility in marketing. I think I often question, and I think a lot of people do, I think we all question the ethics behind how we're marketing to people, how we're communicating with people, and what the end result of that is. And so we had a really insightful conversation. It was mostly John talking. It was mostly me just asking questions. But he was just, we talked about toxic consumerism, like what role advertising plays in perpetuating that problem. We talked about the issues that social media creates for mental health. We talked about, obviously there's the environmental impact that we talked about. And he just had a really good perspective, a well-balanced perspective on these issues. They're not cut and dry. They're not simple. And it was a really informative conversation. So I always point people to that episode if they want to get a taste for a deep dive into some heavy topics. I did one last year also with Justine Mollier. She's a business coach. She works with freelancers. She works with small business owners, agency owners, and works with them on a number of different levels. Like her whole mission is to help creatives navigate through the wild and figure out how to survive and how to thrive. And so we had a great conversation about pricing, positioning, how to some of the main challenges that I think freelancers face when they get into the industry. We talked through some of those issues. So that was a really great kind of act. It was packed full of wisdom and thoughts. So those 2 are definitely on the top of my list.
Well, we'll link to those 2 in the show notes. Yeah, I had John and Sunga on my show a couple of times. He is such a thoughtful, easy guy to talk to.
Totally.
It's just like having a conversation with your uncle or your dad or your brother or something. I enjoyed him. Yeah, and he's great.
What did you guys discuss?
Same kind of things. Yeah, we talked a lot about how they got started with Lucy, and we talked a bit too about how they managed when there's a disaster around the world, like an earthquake or something, and all of a sudden power's out. They need light, and they can somehow move inventory and help everybody get light by shipping Lucy lights to these places. It's just phenomenal what he's doing. Yeah, they do a great job.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, shout out to them.
Yep, and they have some cool products too. Some of the technology is phenomenal. Yeah,
I've got a couple lanterns in my gear closet right now. Yeah,
same. Yep, and I have one around the house because frequently the wind blows the power out here. You never know, so I have one of those. I haven't used it in a while. Probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Yeah. What do you find the most challenging about podcasting? There are some heavy lifts, I think.
Yeah, there definitely are. I think when we started the show, it made sense to continue to put out episodes every week. And as we built up that cadence, it's a hard cadence to continue. You start out a podcast and you've got all the energy and you've got a whole bunch of ideas, and then you get into the middle of it, and then you realize there's other things you have to put your attention towards. And pretty soon putting out an episode every week is a much bigger challenge than it used to be. So I think we have missed, I hate to say it, but I think we've missed 3 or 4 episodes.
No, really, man. It's a thing. Yeah, good for you.
It's one of those things where, you try so hard not to miss the first one. And then you miss the first one. And you're like, oh, shoot, we already broke our record. What happens if we break it a couple more times? Yeah. So I think that's definitely been the most difficult part, is managing the back end of the show, finding guests, obviously the post-production of episodes, and just keeping everything on track has definitely been a challenge.
And do you use replays? You ever do replays?
No, this is a replay. I've seen them, I've listened to them, but I've honestly never really considered them for our own show until recently. I had a conversation with Mason over the Adventure Sports Podcast, and we were talking about replays and just everything podcasting, and he was talking about how they use those over there. And now you're the second person this week to bring up replays, so maybe I need to be considering them more.
Yeah, I use them. I use them when life gets in the way and you just can't crank out another episode, so I find one of the popular ones and replay it. Or A couple of years ago, I took some time off over the holidays and just put a couple of replays up over Christmas and New Year's. And it works out. It works out good. I think it's a good way to get folks more exposed to your back catalog sometimes too, because now you're up at 100 shows. That's a lot of content for people to wade through. They might not get to episode 5 or episode 10 or whatever. So it's a good way to share some of that too, or get more exposure.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think I don't need to push people to go back to those first 10. Those are pretty rough.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, maybe it's first 20 or something.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. We're going to take a little break and give some love to our sponsor, Thrive Market. Think organic groceries are too expensive? So does Thrive Market. They guarantee savings on healthy groceries and home essentials delivered. How? It's easy. They work directly with the best organic brands so you get the highest quality products without the big retail markups. Shop everything from pantry essentials to sustainable meat and seafood to toxic cleaning supplies and save up to 30% on your favorites. Choose a free gift up to $24 in value when you purchase a Thrive Market membership. 1- and 2-year memberships are available. Go to ricksays.com/Thrive Market and get your membership today. That's ricksays.com/Thrive Market. Now, back to the show. And we talked a little bit about the value of podcasting for businesses when we were talking together last. Do those types of conversations come up with any of your video clients? Do they ask you about podcasting and how it could relate to business or anything like that?
A little bit, not a whole lot. I've definitely had a couple conversations about it. I think the brand that I chat with, I think it's like a lot of things. They see opportunity. There is great opportunity. But when it just comes from capacity and a bandwidth perspective, there's a lot of challenges. It would be great if we could all just snap our fingers and every one of us could have a podcast. But the reality of that is it's tough. I think the brands that are really interested in podcasting are the ones that, at least the ones that I've talked with, are the ones that are just being able to have a format where you can have long form discussions with either ambassadors or athletes or fans and have a place where you can have a lengthy conversation. I was actually speaking with one individual last week, and they're in a really great position because they do interviews with folks all around the world and they publish those into blog posts, and they do these interviews over the phone, and they're like, we see there's an opportunity to create a podcast out of this. Like, how could we do that? So I think I'm definitely hearing a little bit more. I feel the word podcast has been popping up more and more, but not a whole lot.
Yeah, they're getting more. Well, podcasting too they're ubiquitous. They're everywhere. Everybody seems like have a podcast these days. They're really a thing. And we all, I don't know about your queue, but my queue is really long. And I listen to a lot of different shows, and people keep putting out content. It's like, oh, you guys are killing me, man. I'm getting further behind. And I don't have a long drive to listen. So that makes
if you're a podcaster now, you're no longer like a social outcast who sits in their closet. You're into something cool now.
Right. Yeah. You're the mainstream. Yeah. And how has your podcast helped your video business, or has it helped your video business, or vice versa? Yeah,
it's helped in a number of ways. Some ways I wouldn't have anticipated. I think the first kind of obvious way that it's benefited the production business, and really me, is just the ability to continue to learn from folks who are way smarter than I am. That's had, obviously, I think, a lot of value. A lot of it I probably haven't been able to quantify yet. I think the other component as well, at least in our industry, folks work with who they know and who they trust. Mm-hmm. And it's not always easy to get out and meet new people and actually form a relationship with someone. And so the podcast has been a great excuse to do just that, to get to know people, to build trust, to start to build a relationship. And then I feel bad. I'd say 98% of my podcast guests I've never met in person. I'm trying to change that, and I'm hopefully that'll start to change as networking events open back up.
Right.
But it's been such a great way to start the relationship and then hopefully take it to the next level in person. And so we've definitely had, since starting the podcast, I think there's definitely been an uptick in our video production business, just as we've been able to meet new people and kind of collaborate on new ideas.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah. Yeah. I think once we get back to trade shows, we're a great place to meet new people and set them up for episodes and recording. That's where I get a lot of my guests from. So
Are you going to OR the summer OR?
I am sorting all that out as we speak. I'm trying to go. I'm a member of the Outdoor Writers Association, and there's a conference they have every year I'm going to for sure. And I'm trying to get to the fly fishing show and the big gear show, to tell you the truth. I had a great time at the big gear show last summer, and the fly fishing show hasn't happened in a couple of years, so I want to get to that, but haven't planned that out yet.
Okay.
A lot of things to go see.
I know. A lot of things to see and a lot of people.
Exactly. And they're always fun to have. Trade shows are a blast. For me, it's like a high school reunion. See so many good friends that I've had over the years in the outdoor space. It's super fun.
Yep.
You'll be there someday.
I know. I've actually never been to OR. I'm really hoping to change that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. You got to get out there. We'll make it a fact to connect this summer. We'll happen.
That's a deal.
Cool. Sounds good. So without giving away any state secrets, can you talk about any future projects you're working on?
Yeah, we've got one feature-length mountain bike film that we're working on. It's a documentary project that we've been working on for about 3 to 4 years now. Mm-hmm. That's coming out. It's coming out this summer. I can't give away too much more than that. We're currently working through our marketing and distribution plans, but come this spring, we'll start to be able to talk about it a little bit more publicly. But cool. That project is one we've been working on it for a while. We're super passionate about it, and we're really looking forward to getting this story out into the world. Yeah.
Cool. Let me know when it comes out. We'll share it up as well. Maybe we'll have to get back on the show and talk about it.
Yeah, that'd be good. Only if there's any screenings down in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, this would be a great place to screen it. Mammoth or Bishop or both. Yeah, exactly. Good idea. So you must get outside a lot. What outdoor activities do you participate in?
I think probably most people can attest to the fact that if you work in the outdoor industry, you actually get out less than you think you might. I enjoy doing a lot of different stuff. I'm not great at any of the hobbies I have. I just enjoy the diversity of them. I grew up here in Bellingham. We've got access to the saltwater, so I grew up saltwater fishing, crabbing, prawning. I've recently picked up fly fishing. I love to mountain bike, road bike, ski. Little waterfowl hunting. I don't know. My gear closet is a diverse set of tools.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to be well-rounded, I think. You got some great fly fishing up there too. The steelheading, and man, it's awesome.
Yeah, I've not done any of the steelhead. I've done plenty of salmon fishing out in the saltwater, but never in the freshwater. What I've stuck to so far is just trout over on the east side of the state where we've got a lot of rivers.
Yeah, beautiful there too. Yeah. Do you have any suggestions or advice for folks wanting to get into the outdoor biz?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this question. What does it actually mean to be in the outdoor biz? And I think thinking about my own journey, I hate to say it, but one day we just decided that we were going to be a production company in the outdoor industry. I've done a bunch of different work. I've done everything from real estate videos to weddings to local commercials, and it's all been great work, but all the work that we've done that has been in the outdoor industry for outdoor brands, finding these stories, has really been the stuff that we've always enjoyed the most. 2 or 3 years ago, we just made a decision that we want to be a production company that does work in the outdoors. That's what we want to be known for. Mm-hmm. So I think the next day we went through our website, took off all the work that wasn't outdoor related. Mm-hmm. And from that day forward, we changed the language on our website. And we're in the outdoors now. So I guess any advice would be and just decide to do it.
Follow your passion. It sounds like you just followed your passion, right? You decided that's what you love to do. That's what you were doing. That's where you're most inspired. Let's go do more of that.
Yeah. And I think at some point you kind of just have to decide this is where we want to be and this is who we want to, this is what we want to do. And I think for the first year or so, we felt like a little bit of imposters and I think a lot of people
we all go through that
feel that way. But I think that would be my advice is just if you want to be in the space, just decide to be there and figure out where you want to be.
Yep. Love it. Yep. I love it. Yep. Just decide it and go get it. That's awesome.
Yep.
And how about your favorite outdoor gear purchase under $100? This is the one that seems to stump everybody the most.
It was stumping me as I was prepping for this question because I knew it was coming. Gosh, I have an answer for you, but I feel like it's not under $100, but it was under $100 when I purchased it, but their prices have gone up since then.
That's fine. That's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And I may have to change this because although I like to keep it at 100 because there's pretty cool stuff you can get under 100, but Typically, right around $100 is, well, I don't know.
Yeah, there's a big difference between 100 and 150. I think that the piece of gear that I use that's under $100 the most that I love it's called a hip pack. They're for mountain biking. They're made by a bunch of different companies, but the one I have is from a local company here in Bellingham called High Above. And it's just it's a pack that's got a water bottle holder. It's got enough room for a bike pump, tube, some food, a jacket. And it just sits on the small of and they're super lightweight. It's super comfortable. And I think I love it because it's way better than carrying a backpack while you're riding. And it's big enough that you can carry the essentials with you. So I would say that product, hands down, is probably what I would recommend if folks want to spend under $100. Though I think they have gone over $100 recently.
I'm sure you can find one for over $100. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, we'll link to that one in the show notes, and they can look it up and check it out. And how about favorite books? Are you a reader? Do you have any favorite books?
I do. I bounce around between physical books and Audible. I feel like, when I'm driving to shoots or I go down to Seattle often, I'll crank through the Audibles. But when I'm back home or if I'm on vacation, I really just enjoy having a good book to read. I think one book that I really always come back to is called Creativity Inc. It's written by Ed Catmull. About, have you read that?
Yeah, great book. Yeah,
phenomenal book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a book about how Pixar has created and maintained its creative culture through the last 20 or 30 years as they've evolved. It's a really insightful book, I think, for anyone who leads a creative team, who wants to figure out how to be a better leader, how to bring candidness and just the creative process, enriching the creative process in their business. I would highly recommend that book. And then I think for the entrepreneurs out there, I really have enjoyed, I've read it twice now, Phil Knight's Shoe Dog. Mm-hmm. It's a book about how Phil Knight started Nike and just the challenges that they went through, again, over the last 20 or 30 years of building Nike into what it is today. It's a great lesson on following the passion, respecting the business because you need to, but ultimately not chasing money and just doing work that you're proud of and trying to solve real problems. So I think those two, those are on my bookshelf. I'm looking at them right now. Yep.
Yeah. The Nike story, it was a great story too, right? How he went over to China. It's just a phenomenal story. I loved it. I listened to that one. I didn't read it. I listened to that one.
Okay.
And then Ed Catmull is one of those guys where he is wicked. Some of the stuff that he created and whatnot, it's holy cow. I had no idea. Amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It's fun, I think, when you, just like a podcast, right? Like you get an inside look into these international, world-renowned organizations and understanding just how human they are, I think is really encouraging.
Yeah. And there's a lot of guys that are quiet leaders. He wasn't the flashy, oh God, I'm drawing a blank on the guy from Steve Jobs. He wasn't the flashy Steve Jobs leader. He was just behind the leader of the brand, but just every bit as smart as Steve Jobs or anybody else. Just phenomenal.
Well, yeah, and that's what's interesting too, is like that story, Steve Jobs used to own Pixar, which is a really interesting part of its history.
Good book. Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, awesome. As we wrap up, is there anything else you want to ask or say of our listeners?
Not really. No, I just appreciate you bringing me onto the show. Definitely have enjoyed your show, and you've definitely, as we started our show, we were like doing our market research, and your show popped up, and so I've been a fan. Yeah, I think if I were to leave anything with the audience, I would just say, I don't know. I think for our production work, stories we try to tell, I think we just try to think about the audience, and I'm always interested in trying to figure out ways that we can advertise and market and do things just better. And I know better is a really kind of elusive term, but I think if there's any ways that we can improve the marketing industry and tell stories better and treat, customers more like audience members rather than just dollar signs, it's going to be a win for everyone. So that's always been my mission, is not advertise, but just to tell stories and create fans.
I love it. Yeah. Because I think fans and audience, they're there for a reason. They came to hear a specific something that you do. And I think that's better than a follower or just or an influencer. It's a good way to talk about it. Yeah. Cool. I'm sure I heard that somewhere. I didn't make that up. And I see more episodes of you on the Outdoor Biz Podcast and maybe me on the Backcountry Marketing Podcast, or maybe we can get the Outdoor Podcasters group to do some kind of a mini conference when we start getting back together. That'd be a blast.
That would be fun. Yeah. I'm excited I've recently joined that group, and I'm excited to dig in more and also just meet other podcasters who are in the outdoor space, because I can only think of a few, but looking through that list, there's a ton that I have that I'm not aware of yet.
Same.
So,
Same. Yeah, it'll be fun. And if people want to follow up with you,
yeah, you can reach out to me via email. You can visit our website. Our website's portsidepro.com. My email is just Cole@portsidepro. I'm on LinkedIn. I am on Instagram, but honestly, I'm really not active, as you'll notice by all of our social accounts that are fairly minimally engaged. So yeah, just I'd say LinkedIn is probably the best way to find me.
All right, cool. We'll link to that stuff in the show notes. And if people want to reach out, they'll reach out. And we'll talk again soon. I appreciate having you on the show, Cole. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you.
It was a blast.
All right. See ya.
See ya.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Outdoor Biz Podcast. Be sure to visit our website, theoutdoorbizpodcast.com, where you'll find show notes with links to everything we talked about and more. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts so you'll never miss an episode. And while you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or spread the word and tell a friend about the show. That would really help us out too. Be sure to tune in every week. And thanks again for listening to the Outdoor Biz Podcast with Rick Saez.